My aunt accidentally sent me a video of my family calling me their walking ATM. Reddit stories. The weight of exhaustion pulls at my shoulders as I fumble with my keys, barely registering the familiar click of my front door lock. Another day of endless meetings and forced smiles leaves me craving the sanctuary of my empty apartment. I drop my bag by the door, the soft thud echoing in the silence, and reach for my phone on the hallway table where I'd forgotten it this morning. The screen illuminates with a notification that makes me pause. A video message from Aunt Susan. Strange, Ash never sends videos. My thumb hovers over the play button as I sink into my favorite armchair, the one that still smells faintly of my grandmother's perfume. The familiar scent usually brings comfort, but tonight something feels off. A whisper of unease crawls up my spine as I press play. The video opens to my parents' living room, the one where I spent countless holidays trying to earn their approval. Mom's voice carries through the speaker first, sharp with laughter that sounds nothing like the careful tone she uses with me. "It's almost too easy," she says, and my breath catches at the cruel edge in her words. Dad leans into frame, his face flushed from what must be his third glass of wine. "Our little ATM," he chuckles, and my stomach lurches. Just mention family obligation and she'll empty her savings. "Did you see how fast she transferred the money for Ethan's emergency last week?" My brother's voice joins in and the betrayal cuts deeper. "She didn't even ask what it was for." Their laughter fills my apartment, bouncing off the walls until I can barely breathe. My hands shake so badly I almost drop the phone, but I can't look away. Every word they speak hammers another crack into the foundation of what I thought was truth. The screen blurs as tears well up, but I force myself to keep watching. Years of memories flash through my mind. Mom's urgent calls about overdue bills, Dad showing up at my workplace to demand help with the mortgage, Ethan's endless string of crises that only money could solve. Each recollection takes on a darker shade now, revealing the manipulation I was too loyal to see. She's so desperate to be the good daughter. Mom's voice drips with satisfaction. "Remember when she skipped her vacation to pay for the roof repairs?" I remember. I remember the overtime hours, the missed opportunities, the dreams I put on hold, all to prove my worth to people who saw me as nothing more than a walking bank account. My chest tightens until each breath feels like swallowing glass. The video continues, but their voices fade beneath the roaring in my ears. I grip the armrest, anchoring myself as my world tilts on its axis. The soft fabric under my fingers feels wrong somehow, too normal for a moment that's shattering everything I thought I knew. The timestamp in the corner shows the video was recorded just yesterday, during what Mom called a small family gathering I was too busy to attend. Too busy working extra hours to build up my savings again after Ethan's latest emergency. A notification pops up, Aunt Susan sending frantic follow-up texts. "Oh God, Lily, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to send that to you. Please delete it." But she did send it, and I can't unsee it. I replay the video, each viewing crystallizing the truth I've spent years denying. The casual cruelty in their laughter, the calculated manipulation in their plans, the complete absence of love in their eyes when they speak my name. My phone buzzes with an incoming call from Mom. Her contact photo smiles up at me, the same practice smile she uses when she needs something. My finger hovers over the answer button, years of conditioning urging me to respond, to smooth things over, to keep the peace at any cost. But for the first time I see the pattern for what it is. Each call, each crisis, each guilt-laden conversation designed to separate me from my money and my self-worth. The phone keeps buzzing as I stare at the scattered bills on my desk, physical reminders of my family's emergencies. A hard knot forms in my throat as I pick up a pen and begin to write, my hands still trembling, but my vision clearing. I will not be manipulated anymore. The words look strange on paper, foreign yet freeing. I've spent so long being the good daughter, the reliable sister, the endless source of support. But as I sit in my darkening apartment watching my mother's call fade to a missed notification, I realize something that shakes me to my core. I don't know who I am without their demands. Each family member has played their part perfectly in this manipulation. Mom, the maestro of guilt trips, her voice always trembling with manufactured crisis. Dad, the enforcer showing up at my workplace to shame me into compliance when I dare to hesitate. And Ethan, my baby brother, the one I've protected since childhood, wielding my love for him like a weapon. The video plays one final time and I watch them with new eyes. Mom's perfectly timed sighs when she needs money. Dad's practiced scowl that appears the moment I question any request. Ethan's wounded looks that make me feel like I'm abandoning him if I say no. They've crafted their roles in this performance with devastating precision. My phone lights up again, Ethan this time. The text preview shows just enough. Sis, I really need your help with. I set the phone face down on my desk. In the sudden silence, a question rises that I can't push away. How can I break free when every piece of who I am has been shaped by their manipulation? The answer waits somewhere in the darkness beyond their influence. And for the first time in my life, I'm ready to find it. Have you ever discovered that the people closest to you aren't who you thought they were? Share your story in the comments below. The video plays again in front of me, but this time I notice something I missed before. A series of notifications flash across the top of the screen. Frantic messages from Aunt Susan appearing in real time as she recorded. Karen, are you sure about this? What if she finds out? We should delete this. My hands steady on the phone as the reality crystallizes. This wasn't just a casual moment of cruelty caught on camera. They planned this. Every laugh, every cruel comment, it was all orchestrated. Mom's voice cuts through the speaker again, and the memories flood in like a toxic tide. Last month's barrage of texts about the mortgage payment. Your father and I could lose everything. Is that what you want? The month before that? Ethan's in trouble. He needs help now. And 2 weeks ago? Why aren't you answering? Family should come first. Each message arrives with perfect timing, always when I'm at my most vulnerable, late at night after a long day at work, or early morning when my defenses are down. The constant ping of notifications trained me like Pavlov's dog. Each sound a reminder of my failure to meet their endless needs. Dad's tactics are more direct. I close my eyes and I'm back at my office 3 months ago. His broad frame casting a shadow over my desk as coworkers pretend not to stare. Your mother's crying because of you, he announced loud enough for everyone to hear. Is this job more important than your family? The memory makes my chest tight. I transferred the money right there. Fingers trembling on the keyboard just to make him leave, just like I always do. Ethan's voice drifts from the phone now, his familiar laugh twisting into something ugly. Watch this, sis. I really need your help. It's an emergency. Works every time. My brother, my baby brother, who I've protected since he was small enough to hide behind me during thunderstorms. The last time he called with an emergency, I canceled my vacation plans to help him. The time before that, I dipped into my retirement savings. Each crisis manufactured, each desperate plea, a performance designed to separate me from my money and my self-worth. A text from Jessica lights up my screen, breaking through the spiral of memories. Hey, you've seemed off lately. Want to grab coffee? Jessica, who noticed something was wrong weeks ago, who gently suggested I talk to her mentor Michael about setting boundaries. I dismissed her concerns then, defending my family's honor like a good daughter should. My fingers hover over the keyboard before I type, "Are you free now?" Her response comes quickly. "Always for you? Usual spot?" I need this someone outside the toxic bubble of my family's influence. Someone who won't demand anything except honesty. The phone rings, Mom's name flashing on the screen. Her voice comes through sharp and cold. "What do you think you're doing? Without your money, this family falls apart. Is that what you want? Your father's health isn't getting any better, and Ethan's about to lose his apartment." She pauses, letting the weight of her words sink in. "If you abandon us now, don't expect to ever be welcomed back." The familiar guilt rises, but something else rises with it. Anger, hot and clarifying, burning away the fog of manipulation. My fingers move across the keyboard, typing out words I never thought I'd dare to send. "I'm not sending money this month." The response is immediate. Accusations of betrayal, reminders of all they've sacrificed, threats of what my defiance will cost. Each message designed to break my resolve, to force me back into line. My phone buzzes with another message, this time from Michael, Jessica's mentor. Jessica told me what's happening. "Remember, setting boundaries isn't betrayal. Call me if you need backup." But as the texts pour in, I notice my laptop screen blinking with a new email notification. The subject line stops my breath. "Ari, Lily's account, next steps." I open it with trembling fingers, and my world shifts again. There, in crisp black and white, is an email chain between my family members, detailing their plans for the coming months. Each crisis scheduled and scripted, each guilt trip carefully crafted to maximize impact. They've been coordinating their attacks, timing their demands to ensure I never have a chance to build my savings or question their motives. The evidence of their calculations sears itself into my mind. This isn't just about money anymore. This is about power, control, the systematic destruction of my independence disguised as family obligation. Mom's contact photo flashes on my phone again, her practiced smile now a grotesque reminder of every lie she's ever told me. But for the first time I let it ring unanswered, my eyes fixed on the email that changes everything. What hidden truths do you think lie beneath a toxic family's facade? Comment below with your theories. My shoulders tense as Karen's voice cuts through the bustling office, sharp and precise as a surgeon's blade. How dare you ignore my calls? The words slice across the marketing department's open floor plan, drawing curious glances from my colleagues. I grip my coffee mug tighter, willing my hands not to shake. Mom, I'm at work. The words come out steadier than I feel. Behind me, I hear Sarah from accounting pause her typing. Oh, so now you're too important to help your family? Karen's laugh crackles through the speakerphone, the same calculated laugh I heard in that video. What happened to being grateful for everything we've done for you? Heat creeps up my neck as I notice Tom, my supervisor, emerging from his office. His eyebrows rise at the commotion. I fumble to switch off the speaker, but Karen's voice has already achieved its intended effect. The damage is done. Later that evening at Bellini's restaurant where the families gathered for Uncle Mike's birthday, I slide into a corner booth hoping to stay invisible. But Richard's voice carries across the white tablecloths and wine glasses, loud enough to ensure everyone hears. Some people, he announces to the table of relatives, swirling his third glass of Cabernet, think they're too good for family once they get a fancy office job. His eyes fix on me, lips curling into a smirk. Isn't that right, Lily? The fresh bruise to my reputation stings, but something else rises in my chest of familiar pressure building like steam in a kettle. I watch him take another self-satisfied sip and suddenly I'm tired. Tired of being the punching bag. Tired of measuring my worth in dollars withdrawn. I set down my fork, the clatter against fine china drawing attention. Actually, Dad, I think it's more that some people view family as an ATM rather than actual relatives. The words surprise even me with their clarity. Richard chokes mid-sip. Aunt Susan's eyes widen. She knows exactly what I'm referring to. The video she accidentally sent still burns in my phone. A digital smoking gun. That night in my apartment, I stand before the bathroom mirror. The woman staring back looks different somehow. Shoulders straighter, jaw set with newfound determination. I think of Karen's performance at my office, of Richard's theatrical dismantling of my character at dinner. Each attempt to shame me has only crystallized something I've been afraid to admit. Their power over me exists only because I've allowed it. My phone buzzes on the counter, another text from Ethan. Hey sis, hate to ask, but I'm in a really tight spot. I let it sit unanswered, focusing instead on my reflection. The constant pressure of their demands has shaped me like water shapes rock, wearing away at my edges until I fit the mold they created. But erosion can be stopped. Damage can be reinforced. I grab my laptop and open a new document. My fingers hover over the keys for a moment before I begin typing. Documentation of financial exploitation. The title stares back at me, both terrifying and liberating. I begin listing every emergency payment, every guilt-laden transfer, every manipulation disguised as family obligation. The numbers add up quick, far too quickly. Years of helping out with mortgages, car payments, and Ethan's endless crises scroll down my screen. Each entry reinforces my resolve. This isn't help anymore. It's systematic exploitation. A new text lights up my phone. Jessica, this time. Coffee tomorrow? Been worried about you. Jessica, who's watched this pattern play out for years. Jessica, who's never asked me for a dime. I text back a quick, yes, something warming in my chest that feels like hope. The next morning, the familiar scent of coffee and pastries at the daily grind wraps around me like a comfortable sweater. Jessica slides into the seat across from me, and I notice Michael, my old mentor from grad school, approaching with 3 steaming mugs. I hope you don't mind, Jessica says. I asked Michael to join us. We're worried, Lil. Michael sets down the coffee and fixes me with the same steady gaze that got me through my thesis anxiety. Your father came by my office yesterday, he says quietly, making some interesting claims about your mental state. The old Lily would have crumbled at this news, but I think of the documentation waiting on my laptop, of Karen's public performance, of Richard's wine-soaked accusations. I wrap my hands around the warm mug, drawing strength from its solidity. They're escalating, I say, surprised by the clinical tone in my voice because they're losing control. Jessica reaches across the table, squeezing my hand. You don't have to go through this alone. Michael nods, pulling out a business card. I have a friend who specializes in financial abuse cases, just to understand your options. I take the card, its edges sharp and clean against my fingers. In its blank white surface, I see possibilities I've never allowed myself to consider. The pressure in my chest transforms into something else, a not quite peace, not quite triumph, but perhaps the first real breath I've taken in years. Just remember, Ethan's voice cuts through the weekend quiet of Thompson Park. Everything our parents did was for you, Lily. The music lessons, the college tours. He gestures broadly to our gathered friends at the community barbecue, his voice carrying across the lawn. While I had to figure everything out myself, I watched the faces of our childhood friends shift uncomfortably. This is classic Ethan turning every gathering into a performance of his victimhood. Tell them about the car they bought you, he continues, voice dripping with mock sweetness, while I had to take the bus. The car they convinced me to co-sign for, I correct quietly. The one I'm still paying off 5 years later. His face reddens. There you go again, twisting everything. You know what your problem is, Lily? You're selfish. You've always been selfish. Something inside me snaps. Years of swallowed responses rise to the surface. Selfish. My voice carries across the stunned silence. Was it selfish when I drained my savings for your business venture? Or when I worked double shifts to cover Mom's mortgage? Each word feels like breaking free from invisible chains. Tell them about the video, Ethan. The one where you all laughed about your little ATM. He pales, mouth opening and closing like a fish. Around us, the murmurs begin. Later that night, I sit cross-legged on my bedroom floor, surrounded by old photo albums. Each smiling family photo now tells a different story. The Christmas I couldn't afford a vacation because of Dad's emergency. The graduation where Mom guilted me into paying for Ethan's student loan payment instead of putting a down payment on a house. My fingers trace the edges of a photo from my first job celebration. I'm beaming at the camera, unaware that my starting bonus would disappear into Karen's credit card debt the very next week. Tears blur my vision, but they feel different now, not tears of hurt but of release. At my desk, I open my laptop. The documentation I started grows more detailed. Dates, amounts, screenshots of texts. Each piece of evidence transforms from a source of shame into a weapon of truth. I create folders, organize years of financial records, and start recording every interaction. A plan takes shape in my mind, not just escape but exposure. My hands pause over the keyboard as I open a final folder buried deep in my email archive. Inside, I find what I've been looking for. The original loan documents for the house. The ones with my signature forged in Karen's hasty scrawl. The missing piece that changes everything. I stand before the mirror again, but this time I don't see a victim. I see a woman who's done being the family scapegoat. I will not be manipulated anymore. I declare to my reflection, voice steady and clear. I will not be their ATM. The pressure in my chest transforms into something else, not quite peace, not quite triumph, but perhaps the first real breath I've taken in years. The cursor blinks on my screen, steady as a heartbeat. I've typed and deleted the email subject line 7 times now, but the words finally feel right. Financial record of family support 2020 to 2024. My fingers hover over the keyboard as I review the spreadsheet one last time. Every transaction, every guilt-laden transfer, every emergency payment meticulously documented. The numbers tell their own story, one of systematic exploitation that makes my stomach clench. Send me your bank statements. Michael had advised yesterday, we'll build an ironclad case. My mentor's steady voice echoes in my mind as I copy the data into the email body. Each line an indictment. Asterisk January 2020. Emergency roof repair $8,400. February 2020. Mom's overdue medical bills $3,200. It's March 2020. Ethan's car trouble $2,800. Asterisk. The list stretches endlessly. 4 years of financial drainage, perfectly cataloged. My hands shake slightly as I add the total at the bottom. $147,632. Nearly my entire life savings gone to feed their endless needs. The phone rings, Mom's ringtone. I silence it without looking, focusing instead on the final paragraph of my email. This will be my last communication. Regarding financial support, any further attempts to extract money will be met with legal action. All documentation has been shared with my attorney. I hit send before I can second-guess myself. The whoosh of the sent email feels like a door slamming shut. The response is immediate and explosive. My phone erupts with notifications. Mom's voice trembles in her voicemail. How dare you air our private business like this after everything we've done for you? I delete it mid-sentence. Dad's message is next, his tone sharp enough to cut. You ungrateful little delete. A text from Ethan pops up. Way to stab your family in the back. Real classy, sis. I screenshot it for evidence and block his number. The cafe where I meet Jessica for lunch becomes my sanctuary from the digital onslaught. The familiar scent of coffee and pastries grounds me as I slide into our usual corner booth. But peace is short-lived. Ethan's voice cuts through the ambient chatter. There's my sister, the family trader. He's already halfway to our table, cheeks flushed with what I recognize as his performative rage. Everyone want to hear how she's abandoning her own blood? The cafe falls quiet. My chest tightens as heads turn our way. This is exactly the kind of public scene I've always dreaded, the reason I've given in so many times before. But something has shifted inside me. I meet his gaze steadily. You mean how I'm refusing to be your personal ATM anymore? A couple at the next table snickers. Ethan's face darkens. You've taken everything from us, he spits. Actually, I pull out my phone, opening the spreadsheet. I can show you exactly who took what from whom. Would you like me to share it with everyone here? The color drains from his face. He backs away, nearly stumbling into a waiter's tray. You've changed, he mutters, but the venom in his voice has been replaced by something that sounds almost like fear. Yes, I say simply, I have. Later that evening, in the community hall I've rented for this purpose, I stand before my extended family with a projector remote in my hand. The screen behind me displays the first of many damning pieces of evidence: screenshots, bank statements, recorded conversations, all meticulously organized. I've called this meeting. My voice carries clearly through the stunned silence to ensure complete transparency about our family's financial situation. Click. Mom's frantic text messages about fictional emergencies fill the screen. Click. Dad's threatening emails demanding more money. Click. Ethan's manipulative pleas for just one more loan. Aunt Susan's hand flies to her mouth. Uncle Jim stares at his shoes. Cousin Rachel whispers something to her husband that makes him shake his head in disgust. As I continue my presentation, I watch the family's carefully constructed facade crumble. With each new revelation, their web of lies unravels further. The power they've held over me for so long dissolves in the harsh light of truth. My phone buzzes with a notification. Jessica has posted our cafe confrontation online, accompanied by a fierce defense of my actions. Michael's response appears moments later, sharing my documented evidence with his considerable professional network. Other supporters join in, their voices creating a shield wall of solidarity around me. The mighty Karen and Richard, my manipulative parents, sit frozen in their chairs, their usual arsenal of guilt and threats rendered useless by the public exposure. Ethan, my once cocky brother, seems to shrink with each new piece of evidence. I end the presentation with a final screenshot, the video that started it all, where they laughed about exploiting my generosity. The sound of their cruel laughter fills the room, but this time it doesn't wound me. Instead, it feels like the final nail in the coffin of their control. As the crowd disperses, I catch a glimpse of something I never expected: Ethan, alone in the corner, his shoulders slumped as he stares at his phone. For a moment, the arrogant mask slips, revealing something that looks almost like regret. He quickly looks away when he notices me watching. Through the thin walls of the hall, I overhear Aunt Susan's voice, thick with emotion as she speaks into her phone. I can't believe what we've done to her. All these years. She trails off, and I recognize the sound of someone grappling with their own complicity. Back in my apartment, I spread the evidence across my desk: bank statements, screenshots, recorded calls. My laptop screen glows with social media reactions. Each supportive comment another brick in the wall between me and my family's manipulation. I open a fresh document and begin typing. Legal action preparation phase 1. The familiar tension in my shoulders eases as I outline my next steps. Each piece of evidence carefully cataloged, each potential legal argument mapped out. This isn't just reaction anymore, it's strategy. My hands steady as I work, the trembling uncertainty of the past replaced by methodical purpose. A notification breaks my concentration. A new email, sender anonymous, subject line cryptic. The final piece of the puzzle is closer than you think. My heart pounds as I read the preview text. Whatever this is, it could change everything again. The legal notice lands in my inbox with the sharp ping of an incoming email. Another one. I've received 15 similar messages in the past hour, each more threatening than the last. My mother's latest reads like a war declaration, peppered with phrases like moral bankruptcy and sacred family duty. My phone buzzes again, Dad this time. His voicemail notification popping up alongside a local news article where he's quoted calling me a daughter who's abandoned her family's values. The irony would be funny if it didn't make my stomach twist. I minimize his message and open my laptop instead. The document I've been preparing glows on the screen. Bank statements, text messages, recorded conversations, a digital paper trail of years of exploitation. Each piece of evidence has been meticulously organized, ready for the press conference I've scheduled for tomorrow. My brother's face appears on the television as I'm reviewing the files. He's standing at a podium, Mom hovering by his side like a puppet master. Family isn't just about blood, Ethan declares, his voice cracking with manufactured emotion. It's about sacrifice, about responsibility. My sister has forgotten that. The words hit their intended mark, me chest tightens with familiar guilt. But this time the feeling doesn't take root. Instead, I think of the video that started all this, of their laughter as they called me their walking ATM. The memory straightens my spine. My phone lights up with a message from Sarah, my PR consultant. Community centers booked. Local press confirmed. You ready? My fingers hover over the keyboard for a moment before I type, yes. The next morning I stand before a packed room. Cameras click and whir as I step up to the podium, my USB drive containing the evidence feeling heavy in my hand. The weight of what I'm about to do settles on my shoulders, but it doesn't crush me. Not anymore. For years I begin, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I believed that family meant sacrificing everything, your savings, your dreams, your self-worth. Today I'm going to show you what that sacrifice really looked like. The first bank statement appears on the screen behind me. Mom's urgent text about the mortgage payment. She couldn't make the one I later discovered she'd spent on a luxury cruise. Dad's threatening email about showing up at my workplace if I didn't help with Ethan's emergency car repairs, the same car he sold a week later for profit. Murmurs ripple through the crowd as each piece of evidence builds upon the last. The room grows tense with collective shock as the full scope of their manipulation unfolds on the screen. I keep my voice level, letting the facts speak for themselves. The video clip of my family's laughter plays last. The sound echoes through the silent room, their cruel words about their little ATM landing with devastating clarity. When the screen goes dark, the silence holds for one breath, too, before erupting into a storm of camera flashes and shouted questions. My phone explodes with notifications as the story hits social media. Within hours, the video goes viral. My family's carefully crafted image crumbling under the weight of their exposed lies. Local news stations pick up the story, their coverage spreading like wildfire across national networks. A week later, I stand before another audience, this time at a community forum on financial abuse. Mom, Dad, and Ethan sit in the front row, their lawyers flanking them like guards. They're here to attempt damage control, but their usual tactics feel hollow under the harsh fluorescent lights and dozens of watchful eyes. You've heard my family's version of events, I say into the microphone, my voice carrying to every corner of the room. About duty, about obligation, about the daughter who betrayed their trust. I pause, meeting each of their eyes in turn. But obligation isn't love, duty isn't family, and exposing abuse isn't betrayal. The applause starts slowly, then builds into a wave that drowns out my parents' attempts to interrupt. I watch their faces as their last grip on control slips away, replaced by the dawning realization that their power was always built on sand. The final battle takes place in a courtroom 3 days later. My lawyer presents our dossier to a panel of judges, the evidence even more damning under the stark courtroom lights. Mom and Dad sit rigid in their chairs as the judge reviews years of manipulation, their faces growing paler with each documented instance of exploitation. When the judge speaks, her voice rings with certainty. The court finds clear evidence of systematic financial exploitation. She looks directly at my family. All claims on Ms. Anderson's financial support are hereby nullified. The words echo through the courtroom, and for the first time in years I feel truly free. The gallery erupts in supportive murmurs as my family's lawyers shuffle their papers, desperately searching for grounds to appeal. But we all know it's over. As I leave the courthouse, reporters thrust microphones toward me, asking how it feels to win, but my attention is caught by something else. My phone screen lighting up with a notification. An encrypted message from an unknown number. The final chapter is yet to be written. I tuck the phone away, feeling the weight of unfinished business settle alongside my victory. The truth has been told, justice has been served, but something tells me this story isn't over yet. Have you ever wondered if true revenge brings freedom? Or if it just creates new battles to fight? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Morning light streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across my newly renovated downtown Seattle apartment. The space feels different now, lighter somehow, as if the fresh paint and rearranged furniture have scrubbed away the lingering darkness of the past year. I arrange a silver frame on my desk, smiling at the photo of Jessica and me at last month's charity run. Next to it, I place the certificate from my self-empowerment workshop, and a handwritten note from Michael that simply reads, "You've got this." Such simple words, but they mean everything now. My laptop screen glows with my updated 5-year plan. The goals I've set feel ambitious but achievable. Expanding my marketing consultancy, leading workshops for others, breaking free from financial abuse, maybe even writing a book someday. Each milestone represents another step away from the person I used to be, the family ATM, the perpetual caregiver, the woman who measured her worth in sacrifices. The local cafe where I now sit with Jessica bears little resemblance to the place where I once huddled in corners, answering Karen's frantic calls about imaginary emergencies. The afternoon sun warms the wooden table between us, as Jessica describes her latest project challenges. The client keeps moving the deadline, she says, frustration evident in her voice. I take a thoughtful sip of my tea, considering her words. Have you discussed implementing a change order process? It could help manage scope creep. The confidence in my voice surprises me, not because the advice isn't sound, but because I remember a time when I wouldn't have trusted my own judgment enough to offer it. The community center's meeting room feels intimate with its warm lighting and circle of chairs. 10 faces turn toward me as I share my story, each person carrying their own burden of toxic family dynamics. My voice remains steady as I describe the video that changed everything, the subsequent battles, and the freedom I found in finally saying no. Recovery isn't linear, I explain, catching Michael's encouraging nod from the doorway. Some days you'll want to give in to believe their promises of change, but healing begins when you realize that protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. The rain creates a gentle backdrop as I notice Hara woman standing outside the library, shoulders hunched, phone clutched in trembling hands. I recognize that posture, that look of desperate resignation. I'd worn it myself countless times. Are you okay? I ask softly, approaching with careful steps. Her name is Maria and her story tumbles out between sobs, a familiar tale of family members who view love as a transaction, of guilt used as currency, of dreams postponed for others' emergencies. We find shelter under a nearby park pavilion and I share my own journey, watching hope slowly replace despair in her eyes. The first step, I tell her, is believing you deserve better. Dawn breaks over Puget Sound, painting the water in shades of gold and promise. From my balcony, I watch seabirds wheel against the brightening sky, their freedom a reflection of my own. A text notification breaks the morning silence, Ethan, probably with another crisis, another demand. I don't open it. Instead, I think about the woman I've become, the one who helps others find their voice, who knows her worth isn't measured in dollars given or sacrifices made. The one who finally understands that real love doesn't demand your self-destruction. The community art exhibit pulses with energy as I weave through the crowd, each piece telling its own story of resilience and renewal. A striking phoenix rises from scattered chains, its wings spread wide against a backdrop of breaking dawn. The artist, Sarah, catches my eye and smiles. Your story inspired this piece, she says, extending her hand. I join a small group gathered near a multimedia installation, exchanging stories and contact information. A photographer named Alex shares his vision for documenting survivors' journeys. A counselor, Diana, discusses starting a workshop series for financial empowerment. Conversation opens new doors, new possibilities. My phone fills with new connections, mail addresses, social media handles, tentative lunch dates. These aren't just networking contacts, they're the foundation of something deeper. Authentic friendships built on mutual understanding and respect, not obligation and guilt. The future stretches before me, vast and unmarked, a blank canvas waiting to be filled with genuine relationships, personal growth, and dreams that belong solely to me. For the first time in my life, I'm not afraid of what tomorrow might bring. I am enough exactly as I am. What does freedom mean to you? Share your vision of a fresh start in the comments below.